Hello angels, just a little disclaimer before we get into the video. This video is not in replacement of medical advice. It is really important that you consult a doctor before you change your diet or your lifestyle in any way. This video is a part 2. There are really important disclaimers about my personal situation in the first video. The information that I share in this video is a combination of medical advice I received as well as information that I found from multiple sources on the internet. These are things that have worked for me and helped me lose over 10 kilos in the space of around 3 months.
Morning guys, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for the support on my last video. I've genuinely been so overwhelmed. You have no idea how much it means to me that you guys left the comments that you left, that you actually let me know what helped you. I am so sorry it has taken me so long. I just launched my jewelry brand. I have just moved to a brand new city. I have been very busy. In today's video, I'm gonna go a lot more in depth into what I did. The first video was my mindset, and that's obviously the most important part in my opinion, because you can make changes with your habits, you can make changes in your life, but it's not going to stick if you don't have the right mindset. And I'm so glad so many of you appreciated that and knew where I was coming from, and it's for a reason. It's because if I didn't have that mindset, I wouldn't be where I am today. However, the actual weight loss itself obviously came from nutrition, consistency. If you haven't seen my first video, if this is like the first time you're seeing my face, please go watch it, because this is going to make no sense to you at all. Really important that you have watched the first video. We are just gonna get straight into it today. I'm gonna be talking about keto. I'm gonna be talking about what I did specifically. I even have a document I personally used during my weight loss journey. I'll link it down below. You can download it, print it out. What is keto? I am not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist. It's still a little bit confusing to me, although I know the basic concepts of it. Keto or ketosis is actually a metabolic state that your body is in. It is not just a name for a fad diet, like a low carb diet. I think a lot of people, myself included, when I first heard about it, will hear the word keto and just think, oh, it's a low carb diet. It's not. It's much more complicated than that. It is specifically when you deplete your carbohydrates enough and increase your healthy fats enough that your body actually switches over its fuel source from carbohydrate, which are its primary fuel source, to fats instead, therefore using fats as fuel instead of carbohydrate. During this process, when you deplete your carbohydrates enough, your liver actually starts to produce ketones. That is when you're in a state of ketosis. When you're in ketosis, the body will literally be using your fat storage as fuel. It is extremely easy to lose weight in keto. You don't have to do excessive exercise. You do not have to calorie count. That's my favorite part. So really important, you're not just doing a low carb diet, then you're essentially just starving your body of nutrients. With keto, it is very nutrient focused, just really looking after yourself. And if you don't increase those healthy fats, you're just going to be starving your body of a fuel source and of nutrients as well. So now that we've established that keto is a metabolic state, how do you get into it? Get into a state of ketosis is different for everyone. For me personally, to get into ketosis, I need a macro profile of about 70% healthy fats, 10% carbohydrates, and the remainder is protein. The carbs that I get come from vegetables. I really like to get most of my carbohydrates from my dark leafy greens, from eggplant as well. I love eggplant. Cabbage is also another favorite vegetable of mine. I tend to eat around 25 to 30 grams of net carbohydrates per day. People freak out when they hear that, but they don't realize it's net carbs. Net carbs is your total carbohydrate count minus dietary fiber. If you're wondering what the net carb of something is, you can use an app like MyFitnessPal, which is what I personally use, or usually on the back of a food packet, you'll be able to see what the dietary fiber is. If you're ever unsure past that, just give it a quick Google. For example, I'm going to show you guys how I figure out what net grams of carbs are for, let's say, an avocado. Let's do that. First of all, we are going to go into MyFitnessPal and we're going to go into like the diary section, and I'm just going to type in avocado. There it comes up here. I typically have half an avocado in a serving. Half an avocado is 6.4 grams of carbs. However, when you scroll down and you click on nutrition facts here, the little arrow, you'll be able to see everything. And here where you see total carbohydrates and then under it you see dietary fiber. You simply take the dietary fiber from the total carbohydrates and you're left with the net grams of carbs. Total carbohydrates is 6.4, take 5 grams of dietary fiber, so half an avocado, you are left with 1.4 net grams of carbs. That's just a really quick example. I basically just make sure that I don't go over 25 to 30 net grams of carbs max per day. Now it is so much easier for me to stay in ketosis because I've been doing it for so long, and it's also a lot easier for me to get back into it once I'm kicked out of it. Brings me on to my next point, which is how many carbs per meal should you look at? Personally for me, I have a very strategic way of eating and I divide my carbohydrates up. For breakfast, I have a really low carb count. So I'll usually have something that is higher in healthy fats, really low in carbs, and moderate in protein. Majority of my carbohydrates I usually have at lunchtime just to help with my energy throughout the day. And then I have a little bit less at dinner and more healthy fats again at dinner. So breakfast and dinner are pretty much the same macro profile. I think the main rule of thumb for me is to not go over like 10 to 12 net grams of carbs per meal. I find that if I do that, I do tend to get kicked out of ketosis, which is fine. You don't need to be in ketosis every single day of your life. But if you're just starting out, it's really beneficial to be in a really kind of consistent state of ketosis for 8 to 12 weeks because your body becomes adapted. My way of doing keto is plant-based. However, I'm going to give you guys other options because I understand that that might be a bit too restrictive for some people. My primary sources of healthy fats are coconut oil, olive oil, avocado. Luckily, those things are so high in fat that you don't even need much of it to meet your macros. One of the main questions I got was, can you show us what you eat? Can you give us recipes? I would like to actually do a what I eat in a day video. I think that's going to be a better visual representation for you of how I actually eat. In the document that I'm giving you guys, I've actually listed out pretty much my entire day of eating, how I structure my day in terms of food. I usually have my breakfast around 8 a.m. My go-to breakfast is personally tofu scramble because tofu is really low in carbohydrates and it has a good protein count. I really love this breakfast. It makes me feel good mentally, it makes me feel good physically. I'll have 2 to 3 teaspoons of coconut oil, I'll fry up some firm tofu, add a bunch of spices because with keto you can't really have condiments, you're not really having mayo, you're not really having sauces. Those things have sneaky carb count. Usually half an avocado and some Dijon mustard because Dijon mustard has no carbohydrates at all. If you're not plant-based, your breakfast could look something like omelette, scrambled eggs with feta, avocado, Dijon mustard. Next up, after I have breakfast, I'll usually go for a walk or maybe do a Pilates session. I just like to get out of the house. I did mention this in my first video, so you guys would know this, but I actually had most of my weight loss happen when I was injured and couldn't exercise. So I was barely walking, I was barely working out at all. Again, it's because with keto, you don't actually need to exercise. Exercise is good for you, but you will lose weight from not exercising. I recommend going for a walk, doing a Pilates session. I actually recommend like maybe holding off on doing any intense exercises while you're starting with keto because your body is going to go through an adjustment process. I will talk more about that a little bit later. So because my breakfast is around 8 a.m, I usually have my lunch around 1 p.m. As I mentioned before, I'll have most of my carbohydrates. I'll have like all my veggies. My favorite vegetable is bok choy. It is really good for your lymphatic system. Dark leafy greens are just amazing. I like to have around 10 grams of my daily net carbs be from dark leafy greens. I love making like a little bowl of seasoned bok choy, kale, pak choy, beetroot greens because they're also really good for you as well. And I'll just season it with some like vegetable stock powder and add a few like little almonds in there and I'll just eat that. I always make sure I have something like that for lunch, and I'll have a tablespoon or 2 of hummus, like grilled eggplant. That's usually around 1 p.m. I would say. I avoid snacking between lunch and dinner. When it comes to dinner, I did mention this in my first video, I like to eat it around 4:30 to 5 p.m. Obviously when I go out with family, I don't care. I'm living my life. I'm gonna eat at 8 o'clock if I'm out with my friends or with my family. But on a typical day, I do eat at 4:30, and I personally find that I experience far less bloating. I have a better sleep. I just feel better. I guess in some way this could count as fasting, but I don't do it because of that. I just genuinely do it because I like the feeling of going to bed and not feeling full. That's why I started doing it. However, I started noticing a difference in my weight loss. My next little point is to journal, to meditate, to have a nighttime routine that allows you to wind down. I know that's the kind of advice you've heard before, but it is really important to have a stress reduction routine when you're losing weight, because your body is already under so much stress. And this is what people forget, is weight loss is a very stressful thing on your body. Your body doesn't necessarily know what's happening. It doesn't know that you're trying to lose a few kilos. It just is reacting to change. So it's really important that you have a stress reduction routine. I do like to journal because it gets me in a state of being really mindful and being really present. This next point is really important. Make sure that you buy some really good quality keto electrolyte. The electrolytes that I used were by brand, I think it's called Lucado, and it's just their keto electrolytes. It had magnesium, potassium, calcium, B vitamin, and it also had like the sodium as well. It was amazing, and I took this every single night before I went to sleep, and I still do this to this day. Even if I'm not in ketosis on any given day, I'll still have these electrolytes. When you first go into ketosis, you're not going to feel the best. You are going to experience a little bit of nausea. You're going to experience a little bit of bloating. You might have trouble going to the bathroom. You might have flu-like symptoms. This happened to me. I'm really lucky because I did a lot of research. I had my doctor explain to me that this would happen to me. It's extremely normal when your body is literally just switching over its fuel source. Like, you're not dying. Your body is simply just adjusting. This lasted for me about a week and a half of just feeling really not good. When I started taking the electrolytes, my flu symptoms vanished, my digestive system was working much better, I felt mentally so much better, physically so much better. You will notice when you start doing keto, within your first few weeks, you will lose so much water weight. The first couple weeks, most of the weight loss that you experience will be water weight. It won't probably be fat loss just of yet. You really do need to replenish the water that you lose. Make sure you drink the recommended amount. Don't skip on that. It's really important that you drink enough. Another supplement that I really recommend you guys taking is magnesium. I have it with dinner every single night. I noticed that my sleep is better. I noticed that I get less PMS symptoms. There's a lot of studies that show how good it is for you. So make sure you find high quality magnesium. I hope that this part 2 was helpful for you guys. I really tried to organize this the best way I possibly could, but I'm not gonna lie, this isn't my normal content. Like, I'm not someone who started this channel to talk about keto, weight loss, nutrition. I wanted to make that video because I really thought it would help people, and I really hope that this helps some people. There will be a part 3. I'm just gonna make this a series. Part 3 will be what I eat in a day, and I think I might do a couple of them. Definitely be on the lookout for that. I will try and do that as soon as possible. If you do try anything and it works, please let me know. I've been getting DMs from you guys on Instagram. I will see you guys in my next video, which may or may not be the what I eat in a day video. Guys, so much for tuning in today. I love you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you guys in the next video.